Hello and welcome to the final video of the initial GTU 5 video teaching package. In this one, we will focus on absentee parents and parent voids. Mainly we'll focus on father void, which is a little bit more common. And they're both something that I have a wealth of experience with, and so we'll get into that a little bit later as well. As you can see, this isn't our normal room. Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One, I wanted to switch it up. This is our final video, let's make it good, right? Number two, it's kind of an example of where you can go and that you can get through grief. Using myself as an example, I was hampered by my grief for a long time, and it stemmed from father void, it stemmed from parent void. And now I'm here. This is a room, this is the Phoenix Sports Bureau actually, in the Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, where I graduate next month. It is where I spend most of my days, and I'm using this as kind of an example of basically that grief doesn't have to hold you down, and I grew from mine, grew through mine, and you can as well, and you can accomplish great things. So, that being said, this one is a little bit of a longer video, so let's get to it. So let's start with a thing called father void. What is father void? Father void is not having a father figure in a young person's life for support in various ways that a father figure can help. It has become more common for society to diminish the role of fathers in the lives of children, but not eliminate the reality that there is a need for a father figure, of course. For some, the absence of a dad causes extreme issues, like it did for me. It is worthwhile to see father loss in yourself and know it has and can shape your life in the future. Not having a father figure in your life is nothing to scoff at because it can cause significant emotional and mental lapses. If you think yourself or someone you know might be suffering from an absentee parent, or especially a father, ask these questions. Are you reluctant or fearful of trusting people? Are you a person who has a low estimate of yourself? Are you on the other side? Are you wildly overconfident? Are you looking for someone to take care of you, having expectations that someone other than you will rescue you? 5. Do you have issues with men in general when it comes to trust? Are you a control freak? Are you a workaholic? Abandonment issues? Or are you lonely? 9. Do you prefer women in work or as friends instead of men? These are just a few of the warning signs of father void in your life. And the challenge here is to deal with father void in our lives and to seek a better job when we have a chance to shape young lives. Father hunger exists today as it existed in the past when things were different. This longing causes children to search for some kind of paternal relationship to fill the void that a father leaves. When the search fails or falters, the person is forced to look elsewhere to fill that void. These issues are complex, and the task of journeying through them is a difficult one. So what causes a father loss, father hunger, or father void? Let's go through a couple different types of that right now. The first one is father void from death or passing away. The sudden absence of a father caused by death is in the most jarring way that you can experience father void because of the suddenness. A father's death could mean the loss of a friend or a mentor in the beginning of a life, or just the loss of someone that you look up to. The timing of the loss and the effect of it do matter. How one finds out about the death, what the last contact was with your father, the nature of the relationship, all of those things matter and will affect the pain and loss that you suffer from. 2. Father void from separation. The reason and nature of the separation matters. Not all of them are created equal. Was it a forced condition from a divorce or a result of abuse? Did the father emotionally separate, or is it a separation from a physical distance? The duration of the separation and the father's effort is a big deal. Separation can have multiple causes, but I'll use myself as an example. My mom and dad separated when I was 6 in 2001. I'm now 24. He had a big drinking and drug problem that was toxic between his relationship with my mother. He eventually got his own place when they separated, but then he went to prison, and My sister and I went and saw him in prison. And then when he got out, he kept going back and forth between jail and being out, jail and being out. And the breaking point was when he brought me to the jail. He had violated his parole. He brought me to the jail with him, hoping to get some sympathy. And instead, he went back there and they brought his stuff out and said, "Your father's not coming back. You need to call someone." It sucked. Called my mom crying, yada yada. But this caused a separation from my dad and I, and it caused a distinct dividing line in our relationship. Number 3 is father void from addiction. This is kind of what my situation was. When a father has an addiction, it causes the child to grow up fast, and sometimes the parent is the child and the child is the parent from then on. I haven't thought of my dad as my dad since I was 13 years old because of separation and his own addictions that forced me to grow up really fast. And I'm sure that happens or has happened to a few of you as well. It deprives you from the childhood that you deserve. Another factor of addiction, though, is that it can lead to the next cause of father void, which is abuse, father void from abuse. Abuse causes a deep-rooted distrust for a father or a parental figure who is initiating the abuse. This doesn't just apply to fathers, but we're just saying that in general. The lack of love and respect causes angst, but also confusion, because as a kid, you think you're supposed to love them, so you try your hardest to love them anyway, despite all the abuse that's happening. Number 5 is father void from emotional distance. Emotional distance is created in abuse, but also an emotional distance between father and children. Young people learn to emotionally connect with people through relationships, like their fathers and their mothers. They learn to connect like that. Connections between mother are helped or hindered by the ability to connect with their children. Emotional connectedness is either there or it's not. And having that kind of problem with your mother or father will hinder your ability to be able to form those connections with other people later on in your life. The next one is complicated father void. Complicated father void is when you have one or more of these issues, of these previous 5 that we discussed. This can also be called, as the kids would say, daddy issues. However, that has a negative moniker, I guess, when it comes to sexual exploits, but I digress. Now, this is quite a long list of father void causes, but I will get through them as fast as possible. Issues of trust with people, issues with resolving conflict, issues with having personal intimacy, socialization, issues of eating and sleeping, issues of anger and violence, issues of guilt in their lives, issues of self-esteem and purpose, issues of anxiety and fear, issues of handling pain and anxiety, issues of grief, issues of sexual nature, and issues of depression. That's fast. You get all that? Health professionals and educators oftentimes label the problem, but not the inner source. They look at a person and see addiction or dysfunction socially, anger issues, ADHD, ADD, PTSD, cutting, sexual tendencies, weird stuff like that, and they completely miss the inner problem, which in the case of this video is father void or parent void, if it's your mom or some other sort of figure in your life. So I've asked for this time to kind of explain what my issue is, and hopefully some of you can relate to it if we're watching this video. So my situation was, like I said a little bit earlier, my father and my mom were fighting a lot when I was a kid. We moved to Palm Desert, Palm Springs area when I was 6 years old, or excuse me, when I was 3 years old. They separated when I was 6. And they separated because they were fighting a lot. My dad was a drunk, and my mom was trying to work, but wasn't making a lot of money. The breaking point came when my sister and I heard my mom and dad fighting, and we went into my mom and dad's room, and they left us in there, and they went out to the kitchen. Said, "Stay here." So okay. So we hear them fighting, and we're crying, but we finally hear that my mom stops yelling, and so my sister and I walk out of the room and see my dad has my mom in a chokehold, putting her to sleep, so he doesn't have to fight with her anymore. Then he leaves, and my mom wakes up, and that was kind of the end of it. I don't think that he ever got back in the house after that. But then he goes to prison for 3 years, and then my sister and I still love him and go see him and whatnot. And then back and forth between jail after he gets out of prison, and then he goes to jail for a little while, and I'm done with him at this point. My sister still holds on. And now up until this point, he stopped drinking, but he's still doing drugs. And it kind of let me let go. I let go of what I was supposed to feel, what I thought I was supposed to feel. I let go of the true love that I had for my dad during those times. But I've gotten through it. And I'm sure with 100% of my soul that you will as well. No matter what the situation, it doesn't have to be exactly like mine. It's your own situation. Everything is different, but it's all the same, if you know what I mean. Every situation is different, and we all handle grief differently, as we've said in these past few videos. But if you follow the steps, and if you handle it in your own unique way, you can get through it. You can get here. If you want to be a journalist, grade school, ASU, man. Pitchforks up. Guess what, y'all? That's it. These are the first 5 videos. That's it, guys. We did it. And we've covered so much. We went over what grief truly is. We went over how it can affect you and how to get help, what the symptoms are, and what Father Void is. That doesn't even cover everything you need to know, but it's a start. If you want to know more, go to the support groups. And if you want more information specifically about Father Void, check out Tom's new book that's going to be coming out pretty soon called Father Void, A Black Hole in People's Lives. Should be coming out really soon. It's going through the editing process, and Tom did a fantastic job with it. I'll leave you with this now. Know that you aren't alone. Grieving teen support groups are just one call away, and going to them is a huge step. If you need to talk to Tom personally or a one-on-one session, that's available as well. Holding everything in just isn't something you want to do. Express yourself. Take these tools and use them to your advantage. You can get through anything, and if you want to contact me personally, you are more than welcome to do that. If you want to talk about the videos, if you want to just talk about your situation, or even if you want to talk about what color the sky is, don't hesitate. It's blue, by the way. I'm always here for you. I am so happy that Tom asked me to create these videos for him and produce them and edit them and do all of this stuff, because I wouldn't be where I am without this program. And I am so delighted that we've been on this journey together. And if you need to continue this journey with me, I'm here for you. Thank you so much for watching all the videos. And if you want to hear more about the support groups, just pay attention to the conclusion right now.
Now let's talk a little bit about grieving teens and how to find or join these support groups. First, what is a grief support group? A group consists of about 3 to 12 students that meet to listen and discuss each individual's journey in loss and grief. The groups meet from 30 minutes to an hour, about once a week, and they share their emotions, their experiences, and their circumstances having to do with both primary and secondary losses and how they're moving through their lives. These groups are open at all times and gain new members through referrals from friends, teachers, counselors, and in my case, coaches. New people change groups for the better in most cases, and because they tend to revitalize and refocus everyone back to their own original grief. It is necessary to have a culture of respect. The leader sets the attitude by his or her respect expressed to every attending student. The example set by the grief coach determines the accepted type of interaction during each session. The purpose of these grief support groups is to deal with the emotional, social, physical, and spiritual aspects of grief. The main prompters of discussion are commitment to trust and promise of respect that each member makes before we begin. In each group, there are also ground rules. The first one being, members of the group are expected to always be on time. It's also a good life lesson. 2, it's kind of like Vegas in there. What's said in the group stays in the group. There's no exceptions. This is a safe space. 3, everyone gets equal time to talk. There's not one person monopolizing everything. The 4th one is people are free to share what they want and when they are ready to share. No one's forced to say anything. And the last one is the role of a group member is not to give advice. It's just to listen. The leadership in these groups is real, but it's passive enough to allow students to feel comfortable, and it really is more of a facilitation or coaching than leadership in the directive sense. The group dynamics are actually pretty cool as well. Students usually want to feel inclusion, to feel like they're a part of the group and that they want to fit in, that they fit into this group dynamic. Morris has learned that they need to feel like they are an important member of the group. They need to feel cared for by the group, and this occurs when they start to share and they feel supported and they feel respected or even cared for by some of the peers and some of the students that they're with. In the group, a young person is confronted with reality concerning the way that they are dealing with their emotions, their social issues, physical effects, and spiritual ramifications. In the last several years, Morris has seen that young people all have different needs and need to be in these groups for different lengths of time. He's seen some attend for a couple weeks and then be okay. But for the vast majority, they'll need to attend for several months, and some attend for several years. For more information on grief groups and grieving teens, please visit the website or contact Dr. Morris directly. Brought to you by the HN and Francis C. Berger Foundation and Bighorn Golf Club Charities.